Welcome to the Real Estate PB&J Hour on Money Talk 1310 and 100.9 FM. Rosenwomble Realtor Paul Fuqua is here to share market facts, the fundamentals of selling, buying, owning, and improving your home, plus interesting experts. Now, here is Paul.
Good afternoon, folks. I hope you're enjoying the sunshine. I don't know if you caught any of the meteor shower the other night. I didn't. I tried to, but I fell asleep far too early. And I know that when I was driving over here to the station, the thermometer in my car read 103 degrees. And that tends to make things a little more grumpy out there on the road, because if you're not super air conditioned, you're suffering. Hopefully you're not. Anyway, I'm Paul Fuqua. I'm with Rosenwomble Realty. I'm a professional realtor, work at it full time, and I've sold hundreds and hundreds of houses to some wonderful people. And I've represented equally as large a number of people whose houses I have sold for them, marketed and sold for them. This show is dedicated to providing information to you so that you can make informed decisions on buying or selling a house. We want to deal with the fundamentals of not only the marketing of your home and the preparation for marketing and the enjoyment of the process, but also we try and bring to you things that would be of interest to any homeowner. I know that over the years, my interest in crawling into the crawl space of the house has waned. I now hire somebody to do that, but there are others of you who like to do it, and one of these nights we'll have a foundation expert and a structural engineer on the show. I am joined today by a wonderful person, Kim Pimento, who is a now broker in charge for Rosenwomble. Congratulations to her upon her success in passing the broker's exam and assuming her position in guiding a number of real estate agents within my brokerage, Rosenwomble Realty. Kim, I know your job is to oversee what's going on in the office with all the agents who report to you, but you're here to tell us what's going on in the market.
Yes,
Mike's
I am.
yours.
Thank you, Paul. That
You're
was
welcome.
very sweet of you. And yes, I accomplished that, and I'm getting where I'm very proud of myself. At first, I was just really relieved. So
it was a lot of work. I know that.
Yeah,
it was an awful lot. I'm in the middle of that with North Carolina, and I completed successfully 4 hours. Now I've got another 4 hours. But anyway, yours is far more challenging than mine.
All right. So what there's in the market update today, the National Association of Realtors said that pending home sales decreased by 3.9% in April. They also said pending home sales slipped in April as contract activity decreased for the sixth consecutive month. So according to Lawrence Young, who's our NAR's chief economist, pending contracts reflect the timelier impact from higher mortgage rates than do closings. The latest contract signing marks 6 consecutive months of declines and are the slowest pace in nearly a decade. I'm going to follow that up right quick. Holly Robinson, who's here with us from Advanced Financial, gives us a real good visual of this. So a couple of years ago, when we were at 3.75%, if you went to finance a $300,000 loan, your payment would have been $1,389.35. Today, at about 5.25, which is about the going rate, your payment would now be $1,656.61.
So, folks, that's $3,600 a year that would cover all of your automobile insurance and at least 2 nights out a week at a local pub. Is that correct?
Yes, and that's just your PI. That doesn't include your insurance, so and taxes. So that's quite a significant jump to a family who you're trying to feed kids, go put people to college, child care, all of that. That's a huge increase in what our monthly payments are being now.
All right, and I'm going to join in real quickly and say it's far better than it was when it was 7.5%.
Yes.
And we tend to think that we're breaking records, and we're not even coming close. So we were breaking records at the depth of the interest rates when they were down there 2.9% and below, and now 5.5 would have been welcomed 10 years ago. Oh, my God, I can get 5.5%. So it becomes a little bit of scaremongering as far as I'm concerned. And some of us in the real estate business say, you got to buy now before the interest rates go up. Well, hey, they're going to go up.
And
they're going to come back down. Yeah. You know, that's the nature. It's a cyclical business. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but we have a generation here that has never known that high interest rate. So
well,
that's hard. It's still hard to swallow sometimes when we've had those low interest rates for so long. So with the mortgage rates rising, existing home sales, this is a prediction from Young, from the NAR, will wane by 9% in 2022. At the home price appreciation will moderate to about 5% by the year's end.
And realize, folks, that the appreciation in your value of your house has historically, if you go back and look 25 or 30 years, it was never, or rather the average somewhere in the neighborhood of 2.5% to 4%. That was the appreciation, so that you knew within 5 years of having bought a house, it would have increased X number of dollars, because it's all compound interest. It's just like why your savings account grows. And the same thing with appreciation.
Right. So he said that if mortgage rates stabilize roughly at the current level of 5.3% and job gains continue, home sales could also stabilize in a couple months, which is probably good news to everybody. That at least it will stable off a little bit. Another thing that I thought was really interesting is that the median sales price, it jumped a little bit this month. So they're in the state of Virginia, the median home sales price was $390,000. The median sales price increased 9.1% compared to April of 2021, which is $32,500. Well, that doesn't make any sense at all, does it? Compared to April 2001, it increased by 9.1. I think they left a zero off there. I think it was probably supposed to be $325,000.
It doesn't make any difference.
Yeah.
Nobody's writing this stuff down.
Oh, well, you might be. Anyway, so I thought that was pretty interesting that the median sales price is going up, but our time on the market year to date is across the state of Virginia is only 18 days. And the change there was only about minus 0.1%.
Remember, time on market is measured from the day it hits the MLS as a listed property till the day all of the contingencies are removed from a contract on the property. It's ratified and contingency free, then it goes pending. It's not when it closes. So we have time frames from on market, right? Mm-hmm. And then we have time frames till closing. Sometimes closings take place 45 days after it was ratified. Sometimes they take 60 days. Sometimes in cash deals, they take as little as 10 days.
Right.
So the key date for us in the real estate business, and for you as prospective sellers or buyers, is that time on market from the date it hits till the day it goes pending, meaning it is now an enforceable contract. What's an enforceable contract? You took that in brokerage school.
Yeah, well, it's one that it's fully signed and ratified and agreed upon by both parties.
All contingencies are removed.
All contingencies removed.
So if somebody then walks away, they can be sued.
Held accountable.
Right. Okay. That's the important date.
Yes. So the next thing that I thought was really interesting is overall in the state of Virginia, people are getting about 103.4% for their home. So that's about overall. So we are seeing people get over the asking price. It's pretty common, especially if your house is in good shape and good location. It goes back to location.
Okay. Point, $200,000 house, it means it's going to sell at $206. $400,000 house is going to sell at $412.
So and so this being just the average means they're calculating the ones in there that are going to linger on the market. But we do have ones that are selling for significantly higher than 3% over that sales price.
We don't really know what that price range is, the price point where we see the greatest amount. I spoke to another 8. Maybe you do have that. Do you have that number?
The greatest amount over is in the 600 to 800.
You're kidding.
And then the 800 to $1 million. They're at 104 and 105%.
Wow. Yeah. I wonder why. Is it simply because those people are coming in from New Jersey and New York and Boston and points north and west where we are ridiculously low compared to their pricing?
Well, we've got a lot of people making money on their houses. They own them outright. We have a lot of people that own their houses outright. They have ridiculously low interest rates now looking back on it. So they've got sitting on some wealth.
Right.
They're probably a little bit more abrasive about selling and moving on. That takes a lot of gumption for somebody to sell their house in this market right now.
Yeah,
if you don't have anywhere to go.
Yeah, exactly. If you're not heading south or heading to the wilds of Tennessee, you may be doing just a lateral transfer, money to money.
Yeah.
I have clients that want to downsize, but when we discuss what a downsize means to them, it's exactly the same house, exactly the same kind of neighborhood. It just is going to be a little smaller.
Yes.
But it's going to be just as expensive.
Big closets.
Yeah. I want bigger closets and a smaller house,
So this is what I thought was this is the advice and the tip that they're giving us here. And
these are the NAR people?
Yeah, the NAR people. Home buyers not get hung up on cosmetic details that are relatively easy to replace, repair, or replace. Cabinet colors, hardware, outdated appliances, and light fixtures. Instead, focus on the matters more, like location, square footage, and layout. I wish I could tell everybody that, and they would take that to heart.
I've gone into houses with prospective buyers, and the houses have met requirements that they've set up in terms of bedroom count, bathroom count, traffic flow for entertaining, eating area, dining room, lot size, school district. It matches. And yet, because a bedroom's been painted pink, they don't find it acceptable.
They say, that's a lot of kilts.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a lot cheaper.
That's one afternoon, and it's done. And it's if you hire somebody, you can get a room painted for less than $400. Well, maybe it's a little more than that.
Yeah,
a professional,
about $250 probably.
$250 a room, or is it $250 low? I haven't
room.
My wife does great paint.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay.
Well, you know what's really hurting us though is the increase in rent. Rent is up 40% in some places, in the higher places, and then it's about right now it's about $1.50 per square foot. That's pretty high.
Now is that $1.50? Is that per month? So if I got 1,000, so it's okay, $1,500. Okay, all right. In a commercial, remember. And I used to do a lot of commercial stuff many, many, many years ago. And when they quoted you $1 per foot, it was on an annualized basis. So it was like $300 a foot or whatever.
A lot of commercial does that.
That's the way it is.
So in Hampton Roads, our rents have gone out about 10.4%, and our average rent right now in Hampton Roads is $1,268. And even though we've had an influx of people building apartment complexes, it's still not keeping up with the demand.
Well, it's the same thing that's driving the market for single-family homes is that we don't have enough under construction. And that's a national problem.
10-year shortage.
Yeah. And that it equates to, I want to say, is it like 10 million units haven't been built over the past 10 years. And as a consequence of that, we now have pressure on the resale market. And when you have pressure on the resale market, then you've got people that are moving out, and they don't have some place to go. So it compounds it. And it's kind of an interesting conundrum, but it is definitely something that is challenging to people who are in the market now as either purveyors of information, such as real estate agents, and those people who want to find a new house. They're either larger or smaller. I have one family that is looking for a very specific area and a very specific point of reference as the center for their commute. And they also have an arm's length list of things the house has to have. So I said, wait a minute, I'm coming up, I'm going to look at these houses for you and all this, but I'm not coming up with anything that matches all the criteria. Well, we can look a little further out, so instead of it being a 5-minute drive to where they want to be on a regular basis, they'll now consider a 15-minute drive, which opens up all kinds of opportunities. Anyway, that's what makes this business so interesting. Dino, how much time do we have left? We got 2 minutes, okay? We got anything more? Because we're going to lead into Holly when we come back.
All right. Well,
I know you've got some good stuff.
You got some good stuff here?
Yeah.
I just thought the rents was funny about the.
How many houses do we have on the market right now?
Oh, that was really interesting. I just the curiosity of myself, I went and got on our MLS, took out all the contingencies, and pulled up all the homes on the market without contingencies in the Hampton Roads area
that are active.
Active, and that includes condos and townhouses. 1,800.
Okay, folks, 1,800 total.
1,800
with 3,000 buyers.
Yes.
Well, probably.
1,800 houses. Now, realize in Northern Virginia, a month and a half ago, reported there were only 900 houses in that same circumstance. So what you see on Zillow as active may well not be active because there are 3,600 houses, that there are 3,540-something shown as active today.
Right.
And so these are key numbers when you are trying to find the place that you'd like to live in for at least the next 2 years, and or probably the average is 7 years. Okay, it's time for us to take a break so the people that pay the way can do that. This is Paul Fuqua. You're listening to the Real Estate PB&J Hour. Nothing more fundamental than a PB&J. We'll be back in a few minutes.
All right, see you later.
Now back to the Real Estate PB&J Hour on Money Talk 1310 and 100.9 FM. Rosenwomble Realtor Paul Fuqua gives you the fundamentals of real estate selling, buying, owning, and improving your home.
Welcome back, folks. Or if you're just tuning in, this is Paul Fuqua with the Real Estate PB&J Hour. I'm a realtor with the wonderful firm of Rosenwomble, and we are here to discuss the fundamentals of real estate in all its many facets. And we are pleased to bring Holly Robinson from Advanced Financial Town Mortgage back to discuss some stuff. But before we do that, I want everybody to know you can call us directly at 757-497-1310. I was derelict in my duty. I didn't say that at the beginning. You can call us direct, 757-497-1310. And if you get home and you park your car and you want to still listen to this, go to your computer, click on moneytalk1310.com. Now, we're on 1310 AM and 100.9 FM, and my phone number is 757-449-7463. And Kim, my broker, can be reached at 757-523-4900. All right. I've given all these phone numbers, right? Holly is a great representative. She handles an awful lot of loans, and she's here to tell us, one, what the rates are, and then, at my request, she's going to try and explain how they come up with these rates. What are the components? Is that too much of a task for you, Holly?
Factors.
Okay.
Factors.
All right. It's those guys in the back room that do this, the green eye shades, right? Yeah, they'll factor me and factor you.
All right. Thank you, everyone. So this is Holly Robinson with Advanced Financial Group. My NMLS ID number is 1112-728, and I'm going to bring you today's current interest rates. And then, as Paul has suggested and asked, I'm going to go over what goes into getting a particular interest rate. What are the factors that affect that? So, first, for our non-conforming loans, we're about 4 3/4 with 0 points. Our conforming 30-year product, about 5.5 with 1 point. Our conforming investment, considering that you're putting a 25% down payment, is about 6.625, paying 1 point. FHA loans at 5%, paying 1 point, and our VA loans at 5 1/8, paying 1 point.
Now, realize, folks, when they say paying 1 point, that is an effective increase in the actual interest. And when you see your closing statement, you'll see the actual rate that is over the loan, because they take that 1% and spread it. So you may be paying 5%, but you're actually paying a little more than 5% because you've bought down the rate, right? With the 1 point.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
All right.
It's marketing, guys. It's marketing.
All right. So here we go. So here are the many, many different facets and factors that make up how you get to a particular interest rate. So your loan amount, the value of the home or your sales price, the amount of money that you are putting down is in your loan amount. For our conventional loans, if you put 20% or less down, you don't have that additional mortgage insurance.
Talk about 20% or more. Right? 20% down or more than 20% down.
Right. If you put more than 20% down or 20% down, then yes, okay, you negate having to have mortgage insurance.
Right.
Other factors are your combined loan to value. Combined meaning if you are taking out a second mortgage simultaneously, then that is a combined loan to value with the amount of money that you're borrowing on your first mortgage.
Okay, I'm going to break in real quick. When it wasn't that long ago that we had 85s, 80 and 5%, or 80 and 10, where you were actually taking a second out to get that first note, your first trust, down to 80%. That's what we're talking about.
Yep, absolutely.
And then those disappeared for a while, and now they're back because of the change in rates?
No, not necessarily back. They're still it's just not as prevalent as it was before.
Okay.
There's still companies out there, banks that will lend you second mortgages that you can use as your down payment to, just as you calculated. So you could borrow a second mortgage with a different bank other than who you're going to do your first mortgage, and then that be a simultaneous close still. So it's your combined loan to value.
Right, folks. Back in the funny money days before the crash, I was going to closings and I was seeing people getting 80-20s, 20% second trust, 80% first trust. So they were financing 100% on conventional loan. And that way they didn't have that big PMI, that private mortgage insurance on the big nut, the 80% of the loan to value. And these were on houses that were, in many instances, well in excess of $800,000 and above.
So I personally have done a lot of those mortgages, and that was part of the reason that we did have a bubble pop or the crash, is because mortgage companies were financing at 100%, and the majority of those second mortgages were interest-only loans.
Right.
So
with a 5-year or 7-year balloon.
Yep.
So it was, my monthly payment is down here, I can afford that. But then they had to refi it, and they were counting on the increase in value or the appreciation.
And that didn't happen.
Yeah, and when it didn't happen, when the world went soft in terms of the market, there were people that were facing financial ruin.
So
we don't want that. And the feds have done a very nice job of creating a structure of regulations that are designed to avoid that occurrence.
Absolutely agreed. Truth. All right. So we were talking about combined loan to value, so borrowing that first and second simultaneous to close. The next item is your actual loan purpose. So is it a purchase? Are you doing a refinance where you're cashing out money, or are you doing what's called a rate term refinance where you're just reducing your interest rate or even possibly reducing the term of the loan? Is it an FHA streamline, which is a type of interest rate refinance, or a VA interest rate reduction loan? Other factors are your credit score.
Let me ask, how important is, like, I have Karma, right? Or whatever that thing is. It comes up on, I can look up and it tells me what
it's useless.
Okay. Why is it useless? I mean, I always feel good when I see those numbers on it. Look at this. Why is it useless?
Just the tri-merge that a mortgage company is going to pull for you is the truth teller. I mean, it's accurate, up-to-date information, and your Credit Karma and things like that, they weigh and calculate your credit history completely different.
Okay. So you can't count on Credit Karma to be your...
No.
In the back. Okay.
No.
So how does somebody go and get a realistic picture of his credit without it being a hit on his credit? A hard inquiry.
So the mortgage industry and the credit bureaus have allowed one time per year for you to get a complimentary or free credit report from annualcreditreport.com.
So you can go in by yourself, and do you have to put in your Social Security number and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, absolutely.
Would it be better for them to call you and say, "Hey, I need a checkup"?
Absolutely, I'll definitely take that call.
Now, is that considered a hard inquiry, and does it have is it injurious to your credit rating?
So yes, for both credit pulls, it is a hard inquiry, but a hard inquiry is still not going to make a tremendous amount of difference on the amount of points that you lose. It should only be, 3 or 4 points when you have one credit inquiry.
If somebody's happy, they're at 775, according to Credit Karma, right? They're 775. So that's not what you would
No, I mean, likely it's anywhere between a 40 or 50 point difference.
Wow.
So if you had a 775, you're still going to be in the game somewhere in the 700s. But if you tell me that you have looked at your Credit Karma score and your Credit Karma score is telling you that you're at a 650, you're not even in the 600s.
Okay. All right. What's the highest score you can get?
In the 800s.
What you say in the 800s? Is 840 the limit? I mean, there's got to be a ceiling. Can't somebody have perfect credit?
I think the ceiling is 900 or even 1,000.
Really?
Never, ever seen that in any of my experience.
Maybe you're working with the wrong people.
What's your credit score?
Now, I can tell you, but I'm not going to go out on the air.
Okay.
I can go buy a house.
All right, let me finish. Let me get through this.
Okay.
All right, here we go.
I was about to cut you off.
All right, so we talked about credit score being a factor, debt to income, which is literally the amount of debt that reports on your credit report, also considering things like IRS repayment plans, if you pay child support, if you pay alimony, if you're doing a VA loan and you have child care expenses, those are also considered a part of your debt to income ratio.
That's on a monthly, right?
Yes.
That's not measured annually. That's monthly.
No.
Okay. So if you're bringing home $6,000 a month and you've got $4,000 a month in expense, what does that fall in? That's 67%.
That's a problem.
It is. All right.
Yeah.
But if it's $3,000, it's not a problem?
Half is acceptable in some loan types.
Okay.
All right. But also depending on your credit score.
Before you go buy that new boat, think about that,
yeah,
folks.
That's right. You can't have your debt to income at 50% of your income and have a credit score of 640.
Okay, but if you have a credit score of 840,
yes,
okay,
then you're going to be all right.
So Credit Karma, here we go. Oh golly, this
all
is
right.
too complicated.
Another factor is if you are a first-time home buyer or not. Another factor is if you have a non-occupant co-borrower, meaning you have a co-borrower on the loan. They're going to help you finance that mortgage, but they are not going to live in the property.
If that can be family or that can be friend, or does it have to be defined? What is it?
Depends on your loan
co-borrower?
type.
Okay, all right.
Self-employed actually has a factor in this game. The amount of money that you have in reserves can impact your score. The occupancy being if it's a primary residence, a second home, or an investment property. Your property type, whether it's a single family dwelling, a condo, a manufactured home, a detached condo. The number of units that you're trying to finance, 1, 2, 3, or 4.
Okay, so basically, you may as well just come in there with a notebook and expose your entire life to the loan officer. Is that correct?
Oh, well, you have to. Yes.
Listen to that. You can't become irate when loan officers start asking these kinds of questions.
I call it personally the mortgage inquisition.
And it gets worse as you get closer to closing, correct? There's another round of this.
Quit scaring people.
Well,
if you have great customer service like I provide,
Okay.
there's no need to be in fear.
Hey, I've lived through too many closings in the past several years because of that have been made difficult because of the underwriters. And we had an underwriter here a couple of weeks ago. And he dodged a lot of bullets, if I remember correctly, right?
Well,
Dino's shaking his head.
Hold on. In defense of the underwriter, it also has to do with how the application is taken and what the loan officer is asking and documenting up front.
Okay.
So many things can be avoided when the right questions are asked in the beginning.
Okay.
Thorough.
Now,
The
Dino, how
mortgage
much time do we have?
inquisition.
How much time do we have? We got 4 minutes. So you got
All right,
4 more
hold on.
minutes.
I got 4 minutes.
Okay.
I want
You
to give
better
some
hurry up,
numbers
'cause
here.
I'm going to
All
throw
right.
you out of
Here
here
we
in a
go.
minute. I don't like loan officers
All right.
anymore.
So we were at the number of units,
Okay.
the loan type, conforming, non-conforming, FHA, VA. Of course, our conforming max loan amount is $647,200. Your non-conforming or jumbo is $647,201 or above. FHA in the Hampton Roads area, the maximum is $488,750, and your VA loans you can do up to $1.5 million.
Folks, this is I make light, but Holly's done a stellar job of explaining this stuff, and I want you to go back and listen to this tape on YouTube. What is it called? The Real Estate PB&J Hour, and it'll be episode 20, and listen to what she's saying, because that's accurate. That's real world, and that's the stuff that you don't learn when you see the ads from Rocket Mortgage. Okay.
Again, truth.
Bye. That's
All
your
right.
commercial.
And lastly, another important factor is how long that lock, your interest rate lock, is going to last. Yes, they have expirations on them. So your loan officer could lock it for 30 days, 45 days, 60 days, 120 days.
And there's a price for every one of those.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely. And the longer the lock, the bump on the increase of the amount that you're going to pay for that interest rate.
All right. Holly, guess what? Your time on
My
the
time
mic.
is up.
Throw your phone number out there to these folks.
All right. My number is 757-435-0354. Again, 757-435-0354. Holly.Robinson@advancedfinancialgroup.com. And my NMLSAD number is 1112-728. And we'll resume this again next time, and we'll actually have some good comparisons with those differences.
Folks, this is the Real Estate PB&J. Thank you so much, Holly. I'm sorry I gave you grief. This is Paul Fuqua. We'll be right back after these messages. Bye-bye.
Now back to the Real Estate PB&J Hour on Money Talk 1310 and 100.9 FM. Rosenwomble Realtor Paul Fuqua gives you the fundamentals of real estate selling, buying, owning, and improving your home.
Well, welcome back. This is Paul Fuqua with Rosenwomble. This is the Real Estate PB&J Hour. We're dedicated to investigating and discussing the fundamentals of real estate and home ownership and all the things that entails. If you have a question, please feel free to call us at 757-497-1310. 757-497-1310. Remember, we're live streamed at moneytalk1310.com, and of course, you're listening to 1310 AM or 100.9 FM. Radio rules say you have to do that all the time because the audience turns over every 5 to 7 minutes. So if you are new to this, I'm Paul Fuqua. Welcome to the show, and hopefully we'll have a good time. I am very pleased to introduce my next guest, a very close and good friend of mine, Bob Parrish. Bob and his wife, Dot, are celebrating 2 major milestones this year, Dot's 80th birthday and their 60th wedding anniversary. And I've actually been invited to the celebration. But more importantly, Bob spent an entire career with the gas company as it went through all its iterations as the gas company, Virginia Natural Gas, evolved from all these other companies, consolidated, and then it became something else and something else. It was all a money game. But he was there on the front lines. He was a manager for safety and I think director for safety. And is very familiar and a long and illustrious career with elements of problems and solutions for the gas company. Bob, I do have a question. This area was one of the first, you told me before the show began, one of the first on the East Coast or in Virginia or someplace to have gas service. Can you give us a brief rundown?
Yeah, that's correct. Hampton Roads or Norfolk had some of the first illuminated streets on the East Coast. Now, natural gas hadn't entered the area then, but this was in the early 1800s. And the plant was located at Virginia Beach Boulevard and what now is Monticello Avenue. That parking lot that you see that the city owns was once a gas production facility.
They called it the Gas Works?
Called it the Gas Works, yeah.
I hope you note this man is a native of Norfolk, and he's got that marvelous Norfolkian accent. I don't mean to make light of it; it's wonderful. Keep talking.
But we've gone through a number of iterations. The manufactured gas was messy, low BTU, and then in 1951, natural gas came to Hampton Roads. And it was a massive undertaking. They had to go to every single home and business and change the jets or the offices for each of the gas appliances. And this was done block by block. I went to work with the gas company in 1959, and it was Virginia Electric and Power Company. And they had a gas division. They had gas customers operations in Hampton Roads and also on the peninsula in Williamsburg. And in 1982, Virginia Electric and Power Company formed Dominion Resources, and Virginia Natural Gas was the first company to roll out of that. We bought the defunct Smith Douglas Fertilizer corporate headquarters on Virginia Beach Boulevard, and that's where we established our corporate office. That same year, and by the way, in my 36 plus years, I've done just about every job that on the operating side that the gas company had to offer. I went to work in '59. I went to work in the mailroom, and when I retired in '95, I retired from the boardroom, in which I was reporting to the president. But I had not only safety, but I had other risk management sorts of activities.
You got to go up in the helicopter, didn't you, and check out the pipelines? Was that a thrill?
Oh, yeah, it was. It was all day in a small Bell Ranger. We had a transmission line that ran from Quantico down to Richmond, and then a piece over to Newport News or Williamsburg.
Now, where does most of the gas that services this area come from?
Most of it comes off the transmission lines in the Gulf of Mexico.
So it comes from the Gulf of Mexico to Texas or Louisiana or someplace in the South, and then comes up the East Coast, or does it go?
No, it comes up the East Coast and comes to us. The spur comes to us basically paralleling Route US 58.
Right.
And it enters the south side there in and around the triple-decker overpass in South Norfolk, Chesapeake. We also had 2 lines that crossed the James River and fed the peninsula. But all that changed about 10 years ago. No one ever dreamed that you could connect the 2 systems together. That was on our wish list, but the cost was prohibitive. But there's an underground line that connects somewhere around Buckrow Beach. It goes under the Hampton Roads Harbor and comes up in the vicinity of Old Dominion University. And so those 2 systems are connected. So now we have different opportunities to bring natural gas from different wholesale markets into our area and to ensure the supply for Hampton Roads.
Well, that prompts a question. These are pipelines now. It also means that we ought to call what number when you start digging in your backyard.
Yes, that's really important, especially this time of year when people have outdoor projects going on. The number is 811, which is Miss Utility. It's a free service. All you do is call them, tell them the nature of your excavation. They'll send a representative out, and they'll mark all the utilities. And natural gas, if you see that line marked on the street in yellow, that's natural gas. Red, power. Green, sewer. Blue, water. Orange, communications.
Okay. So
it's an international...
and those are the guys that walk around with the paint? Now,
that's right.
For natural gas, do they use a sniffer? How do they find where those pipes are?
Natural gas on its own has no odor to it. And we odorize it at our gate station where we receive it from our supplier. And we used to receive it in 55-gallon drums. It's a chemical called mercaptan. And we measure it. It has to be injected at a certain rate, and we monitor it all the time. I'll tell you a funny story. It used to come in 55-gallon drums. We sold the drums to a company on Indian River Road one time. They cut the tops of them off. The odorant escaped to the atmosphere. They evacuated the schools in Berkeley. The fire department was running everywhere. But we only did that one time, and that was enough for everybody. But today it's all injected automatically.
Right.
A tank is filled. A vessel is kept filled.
Now, where do they get the mercaptan?
It comes from a supplier.
I mean, but where is it mined or?
No, in a tank truck. No, it's a chemical.
Oh, okay.
Which resembles rotten vegetables, rotten eggs, that sort of thing. It's got a very distinct odor to it.
So the gas company has these people out there in the fields where the bison and the cows.
Another story. One story brings across another. We used to send out a scratch and sniff card with the bill once a year,
right?
So people could scratch it and smell and say, "Oh, this is when I smell this odor. It's natural gas." Well, the post office got irate because some of it leaked out through the envelope, so they had a massive problem with that. So, and every business has its light side, things that go along. It's a very serious business as well, but you tend to remember the ones that like that.
Well, it's funny because I looked up today on the active list, or the list of active properties, and only 40% of them today are carrying gas heat. Has there been a fall off in the use of gas because of the heat pump or other alternative forms, or is it? I always thought gas was the most efficient, least expensive method of heating a home.
It is, and but forgive me, but I've been away from the business. I'm here as Paul's friend today, but I've been away from the business for 26 years. So there's a lot of things that go on.
You have these great stories, Bob Parrish.
I have great stories. Yeah. But I would have thought that number is higher.
Right.
In some markets, it is higher.
Yeah.
But our competitor used to be the heat pump when it came online.
Right.
What we found, heat pump, the temperature that's coming into the room is below body temperature, and people, they had heat, but they were always cold from their waist down, and so. And so then the piggybacks came online.
Right.
So you had a heat pump with a natural gas piggyback. So you could turn the switch on the thermostat and you would get a gas burner. We found that people were using that more than they did the heat pump because it was comfortable. The air coming out of the plenums are probably 125, 130 degrees. So
right.
You actually felt warm as it. One thing I wanted to share with you about something that I do personally. If you're here at vacation time, you're going on vacation, your water heater, whether it be electric or gas, turn the cold water valve off. And if the tank springs a leak while you're on vacation, you don't have a garage full or an attic of water cascading down into your house. So that's a real simple thing to do. It doesn't hurt a thing. You don't have to turn the energy off. But it's something that I personally do if I'm going to be away for more than 2 or 3 days.
So you can actually just go and you turn the little knob.
Turn the water. It'll be on the cold water side.
Right.
It'll be a valve and just.
And you can figure out the cold water by just putting your hand.
Put your hand on it, exactly. Yep.
If it burns, don't turn it off. Right.
Right.
Okay. Right.
Well, there won't be one on the hot water side. It's only on the cold water side.
Right. I never knew that.
Yeah.
I should do that.
A lot of people have propane they use for their grills. I hook mine up to my house piping. You don't have to go and have the tanks filled up or have them run out right in the middle of your barbecue.
Don't you have to get a permit for that?
Yeah, you should, but it's more to it than that. If it's equipped with propane, you need to change the office and also the control valve because they're a little bit different. So I would have someone that's a registered. There are people out there that
you need a licensed plumber.
A licensed, or someone like that. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good. Why do you think people speak somewhat fearfully of gas and the ramifications of a gas leak? I mean, it can be fairly serious. Boom, things blow up.
My experience is this. There were people that were really afraid of having natural gas appliances in their home. And you can usually talk with the people. And I spent a number of years in the field doing operations work. And I was an operations mechanic going into people's homes to find a leak or to work on their furnace or whatever. And in talking with people, I found that someone had a bad experience. Back in the old days, there were no pilot lights in ovens. You would have to turn the gas on in the oven, turn the valve on, and drop a match into this little tube. And sometimes the tube was full of burnt matches. So the flame didn't go down to the burner. There was a buildup, and all of a sudden you had a boom. And they were frightened by it, and they never forgot it. And we all have had experiences not like that, but things that we can in life. Mm-hmm. So that's will hardly happen today.
How about gas fireplaces?
Well, before we move from the ovens, they all have pilot lights, and they all have safeties. If the pilot light goes out, it becomes non-operational. So there's so many safety features in gas appliances. It's really, I'm not going to say something not to be concerned about, but all forms of energy have inherent potential problems. But it's a very safe product. I know one time I had an opportunity to go to Cleveland to the American Gas Association. If you look at your appliance at home, a water heater, range, whatever, it'll have a blue star on there. And the blue star is like, everybody knows what UL means, Underwriters Laboratory. You'll find them on all electrical appliances. But this was a certification for a gas appliance. I went through this lab, and you wouldn't believe what appliances go through before they allow them to be approved and sold to the public. So people should feel real good about their appliances in their homes. There's so many safeguards in there. And
I know that we have an instant heater, one of those, tankless hot water heater that is gas fired. And I've never, in all my years, in all the houses I've lived in, enjoyed a surplus of hot water. And you can regulate the heat. The only difficulty is mine requires a pump. So it's gas-fired to heat the stuff up, but it only moves the water through an electrical pump. So when we had a power outage last week in my neighborhood for some unforeseen reason, I went out and pulled out my generator and got it all hooked up and threw all the switches and everything all ready to shift over. And if you don't have one, buy one. That's my next purchase. The generator wouldn't start. So I'm cranking and cranking and cranking and getting madder and madder because my neighbor said, you got to start them once a month. Start them once a month. Well, the answer is a gas-fired generator. Yeah. They take like a Toyota engine and they stick it in this box and it tests itself once a week. And the source of energy is always there. Mm-hmm. You don't have to go buy things. And they're not inexpensive, but in the long run, between all the work I had done on the box, the circuit breakers, and the generator, it's a good Generac, and it's like 7,000 whatever they are, watts. Is it watts? Yeah, it's watts. It'll fire most of the stuff in the house, but one of these things, and I've got about almost $2,200, $2,300. Well, for $4,000 more, I could have had, a built-in, permanent, gonna fire up the whole house rather than select circuits. Anyway, it's gas-fired. That's my commercial.
And they're easy to hook up. I mean, if you have gas service, it hooks right into your distribution line off your meter. So,
well, should people do it-yourself projects using with gas?
No, I wouldn't recommend that. And some of them are very simple, and you feel like you can do that. But those changing out a furnace or water heater requires a permit, and someone from the city ensures that it was installed properly. And the Southern Code covers gas appliances, and they're universally accepted throughout Hampton Roads with all of the city inspectors. So it's good to get a professional. You can't beat a professional doing work like that or working on your car, in fact.
Car. That was the magic word. Bob and I are car people. Kim's father is a car person. He owns airplanes too. But this man has been at the top of the industry, or the hobby, if you want to call it that. He's been the president of the Antique Automobile Club of America. He headed up the Zenith program. He did all kinds of things. In fact, they've just asked him to go back on the board, despite the fact that he's been 10 years there, and it's a burden. And the man has been spectacular in his service to the hobby. Now, you've been selling some of your old cars. In fact, I bought one.
You bought one?
Yes, I bought the 1930.
And the governor rode in it.
Yes. Well, he got in it. Let's put it that way.
Governor Youngkin.
Yeah. He liked he's and his wife is from Austin. I don't know if you know. Anyway, it was a great pleasure. But druthers. Yeah. Of all the cars you've had and all the great honors you've received for your restoration efforts and all, what car would you most like to have right now parked outside this station so that you can drive home?
Well, the one that I spent more time and it did everything way beyond my imagination was my 58 Impala convertible. I did a frame-off restoration, and it was a beautiful Aegean turquoise white top. Beautiful car. I had put about 50 miles on it in 5 years, so I didn't wear it out.
And it was pulling in and out of the
trailer, in and out of shows. So I enjoyed it in a different way. I didn't enjoy driving it.
But it won every award of Chevrolet restoration.
It did pretty well. Yeah.
Can you share with us approximately what somebody was willing to pay for that car?
Yeah, 6 figures.
Okay. And if you watch Barton, Barrett Jackson or Meekum, and they have these spectacular automobiles, this 58 Chevrolet Impala Super Sport convertible was a Super Sport. No, I beg your pardon. It was just an Impala. Yeah. It was absolutely breathtakingly gorgeous. And then you did a 1966 Chevelle.
Yes, I did. The SS396 was a real fast car. Never got to enjoy that one either. So my whole life, as you age, things change. And so I like cars now that I can drive every day and enjoy and not worry about somebody crawling into them or whatnot. So that's where I'm at. I sold my show cars. So that's where I'm at today.
Okay, well, you do still have a stable.
Yeah, I have a stable, yeah. In fact, I was cleaning the stable out today. We're going to serve food in it here in a couple of weeks.
All right. How many minutes do I have? 3 minutes. Okay. Is there anything you'd like to say to the public that's been enjoying?
Thanks for having me. And, you know, call Virginia Natural Gas if you have some concerns. I'm sure they would be more than glad to come out and talk to you. Or if you don't have natural gas service, it's everywhere now. It's in places that I never dreamed of. When I first went with the company, they've expanded their service area so much, but they would be more than glad to talk to you to see about conversion or running gas lines to your home.
Well, there are a lot of houses in Norfolk with which I'm familiar in some of the older areas that are still oil-based. Can they be converted to gas more easily?
Well, the conversions of those don't go all that well, I don't think.
All right.
So it's better just to, scrap it and replace it. Yeah.
Can you have a gas-fired furnace that will still drive hot water?
Oh, absolutely. A boiler, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, you see that. But the thing about people have HVAC systems because they can get cooling and heating out of the same system. If you have a boiler, that's all it does. You may get your domestic hot water off of it, but that's about all.
Okay. All right. Folks, I want to thank everybody. This is we're coming down to the last couple minutes, and I have to kind of wrap up. Bob, I want the best for you and your lovely wife, Dot. You celebrate her 80th birthday and your 60th wedding anniversary. That's.
We don't like that.
Why don't we like that?
No, they don't like tell their age.
No.
She's right outside. You want to go see how she likes it?
Well, it's her 60th wedding anniversary, so she had to have
do
been.
The math.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, let's be realistic, folks. Hey, get me out of this. Dino, how many more minutes do I have?
You had to be 21.
Well, you've got 1 minute to stick yourself in the foot again, or foot in the mouth, or whatever.
Right. I want to thank Bob Parrish, wonderful guest and good friend, Holly Robinson, of course Kim Pimento, who has added so much to this experience. Folks, again, if you ever want to reach me, call us next Thursday, 497-1310. This is the Real Estate PB&J Hour. I'm Paul Fuqua, and I'm saying goodbye for myself, for Kim, Holly, and my good friend Bob Parrish. Thank you for listening. We'll talk to you next week at this same station at this same time. Bye.